Creepers left to rise, buzz like crazy. Everybody's trying to stimulate it. Spiders in the mirror and things can't be right. Back to the scene of a Friday night, to a blessed collision still frozen tight. Spear drinkers, Cupid and the sound of earthless chime. And why did you argue? We're dreaming of those eyes, the best part of my life. And when we make love, babe, don't make a sound. The clock won't turn around. Ooh, you turn around. 2,000 little fires. And ooh, your siren call is spreading. Slowing things down when I wanted to race. Catching up again when you try to chase. Feels like we're playing space. You always find a way to make up, right? Even when we're such a fly. Even when things just run high. You gotta soften up your sleeves, girl. I'll never enough, babe. Dreaming of those eyes, best part of my life.
Hello my friends, good morning and welcome back to another vlog. Here's Kazi. He got a haircut yesterday and he is looking so fresh and nice. Huh? Do you want to come show them? Oh, he do. I got it. Say, look up here at the camera. Say, look. Oh, I'm sorry. There's nothing. There's nothing. That was a mean trick, huh? That was a pretty mean trick, yeah. You're so handsome, boy, huh? So, welcome back to another vlog. I've got my tea right here. Is it good? Do you think it's good? You can have it. Okay, anyway, let's get started with the vlog. So, today is Wednesday, and I thought I would start another vlog today. Try and... Wow, I'm so sorry for the chaotic entrance into this vlog. Hello, welcome to my channel, or welcome back. We're gonna do a reading vlog today. I'm in a big time historical romance mood. I really loved last week's reading vlog, and I've only read historical romance since then. And so I decided, since I have kind of slacked off at reading any of the books that I have in my YouTube subscribers pick 12 books for me for 2022. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to read those 2 books as priority, and then I have another one that I'm going to read if I have time to include in this vlog. So the books that I am definitely going to be reading are The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. This one was suggested to me, or a subscriber said, please read this for 2022, so I picked this one. I'm listening to the audiobook right now. It's a sapphic historical romance. I'm really enjoying it. I'm going to talk about this in just a sec. And then I'm also going to read Reckless by Amanda Quick. I'm super excited about this one. Like most people who have a romance bookstagram, I have been collecting her books because her stepbacks are so freaking beautiful and unique. So I have read half of one of her other books. It was for a book club that I used to do. And it didn't have an audio at the time, and I just didn't finish it because it takes me so long to physically read books. I almost always only listen to audiobooks when I read. So... unless it's an arc or something like that. So those are for sure going to be in this vlog. And then if I have time for a third one, I really want to read a Beverly Jenkins, and I actually also already started this before I started this vlog, and then I kind of put it on hold to do the subscriber picks. So this one is Rebel. It's one of my all-time favorite historical romance covers. It's so beautiful. This is one of the most beautiful books that I own, and I love it so much. So this one is so this is set in America. Obviously, if Beverly Jenkins books are almost always set, I don't actually know if any of her historicals aren't in America. I'm pretty sure they all are. But this one is about our heroine who is a school teacher, where she is like teaching school to other Black people who have recently been freed. And so she's teaching them to read and things like that. And she has already at this point had some pretty dark things happen to her. And it's been pretty heartbreaking to read. Like, there were some white men who came in who burned her books and her reading material for her school, and they also attempted rape on her, and she was saved by the hero who was part of the Levesque family, Captain Drake Levesque. I'm loving him so much, so I want to read this one so bad. So I am reading this one. I actually am kind of thinking I know this is not going to be great for a vlog, but I may just go back and forth between these two historicals, because I was in a big time reading slump where I didn't want to read, nothing was hitting me, and now I'm in the mood where I want to read all the things. I want to read everything. And so I'm kind of listening to both of these at the same time. So these two are for sure going to get read. I mean, yes, they are. They're definitely going to get read. Will Rebel be included in this vlog? I hope so. I hope so. And then Reckless. Hopefully this one will happen. I don't know. I'm sorry. The plan is for these three. We'll see which ones I'll include. So I'm already 15% of the way into this Sapphic historical. This is beautifully written. It is an excellent setup. I'm very intrigued with the setup. It is about it opens with one of our heroines who is at the wedding of her lover, and she is very, very heartbroken because her lover is getting married to a man, and she doesn't really know what to do with her life at that point. Her dad, I believe it was her dad, right, had just passed away. And he did a lot of like mathematical things, sciencey things for astronomy and things like that. But actually she was doing them and signing them off as him. He was signing them off, because she's a woman and all that stuff. Words are hard today. So once her father has passed away and her lover is married, she's feeling pretty low. She gets a letter from a woman whose husband has just passed away. And this woman's husband was a big deal in the scientific community. Like, he was extremely driven. He was very, very successful at making different discoveries and things like that. And so this woman reaches out to this young woman to see how she can contact her father to translate this mathematical equation type of thing. I'm not a science person. I'm so sorry. I don't actually know if it is, let's see it. What does it say on here? A complicated French text, but it has something to do with astronomy and all that stuff. So the heroine, the one heroine's name is Lucy, whose father died and her lover was just married. So she decides that she is going to go to Catherine, who is the widow, just show up to her house and say, hey, I could do that for you. My dad actually passed away, but I can do that for you. So that's what she does. And Catherine is sort of taken aback. She doesn't really know what to think about that, but once she finds out more about the situation, she agrees. And so they end up working together. So that's basically what's happening where I'm at right now. I am very interested in this because Catherine was married to this man, but she's always had these feelings of attraction for women, and she is definitely feeling some things for Lucy. Like, she thinks about her hands and how they might feel on her. Like, it's very beautifully written, very seductive. And something else that I think is going to be really interesting is to see how, because it doesn't appear like she has had a relationship with a woman, so I'm interested to see how Lucy responds to that too. And Catherine's husband was pretty emotionally abusive to Catherine. Like, he was very driven and only towards his, like, scientific goals. And so he didn't really spare any attention for his wife at all. It doesn't sound like they were a love match. There are a few scenes described where the husband was extremely demeaning and condescending to her. And so her confidence is really not very high. And I really want to see this character blossom and develop. Like, I'm very excited about that. And something else that's interesting that she does is, she does embroidery work, and it's a really crucial part of the plot, and not just in the way that, like, ladies did embroidery work back then. Like, for her, it's a way to really calm her mind and to express her emotions, and I feel like that's such a beautiful detail added here. So I'm enjoying this a lot. I'm very curious to see what happens with their relationship, and I'll keep you updated as I read more in this, because I think that I will probably finish this today. I'm not sure where I'm at in the book, but I'm 15% of the way in, and it is pretty short. It's only like an 8-hour audiobook. So very excited for this one. And then we will see. I will actually probably finish this one next. I don't know. We shall see. Anyway, those are my reading plans. I'm going to get to work, and I'll talk to you all a little later. Hello, my friends. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. I've got an update for you. Today is Thursday afternoon. It's 4 o'clock. It's almost time for me to start making dinner. And I finished a book, so I thought I would come and update you really quickly. The book I finished is, of course, The Lady's Guide to Celestial Mechanics. Oh shoot, what's this? I just got a text from my son, sorry. I absolutely loved this book, honestly. I loved this book so much. This is my first Olivia Waite. I am in love with this author's writing. I think that she is a very, she's a very careful writer in the way that I mean, like, she uses very specific words to convey a feeling of her characters. And I think that she uses, obviously, I mean, this is a very short book. It's only like barely 300 pages, and it packed such a huge emotional punch, I feel like. Now, I will say there were moments as I was reading this book, specifically in the middle, where I felt like it kind of dragged on a little bit. I felt like it was a bit slow in parts, but I don't necessarily feel like that is necessarily a criticism, because there were still things happening with the characters, and specifically in their relationship and getting this document translated. There were things that were going on, but it still felt a little bit slow, you know? And so for a while, that combined with the fact that I feel like this couple really fell into love very quickly. And it was definitely guided by their attraction and their desire for one another. But so I was kind of holding that against it for a while, because in any romance that I read, I want to see them falling in love. That's the best part for me. That is the absolute best part of a romance. I want to see them falling in love. I want it to be a little bit of a fight, you know? I want it to be a little bit of a struggle. Those are the books that are my favorite, is that falling in love process. And that's one reason why I love slow burns, is because that's the most enjoyable part for me personally. I love seeing them together happily, obviously, but if I don't get to see that process of them falling in love, if it happens too fast, then I don't feel as emotionally invested, you know? So I feel like they definitely had some insta-love here. But that doesn't mean that they had their relationship all worked out, all sorted, you know? Like, they fell probably into lust a little bit faster, and I think it was almost like a feeling like, and this is something that made me rate this book really high, is because it felt to me, when they fall in love and when they decide to be intimate with one another, it felt like you could feel these characters have this sense of relief and this sense of coming home, which was so freaking beautiful. I feel like this is a couple that to me felt almost like they were soulmates. They had a soulmate level love, I feel like, and it was absolutely breathtakingly beautiful. There was also some really wonderful steam in here. I feel like one criticism that I hear, or that I used to hear, I haven't really heard it recently, is that a lot of sapphic romances don't really have a lot of steam. They lean towards the sweet. This had, I think it had at least three. It had at least 3 explicit sex scenes, which were very hot. So if that is something that you are wanting, then I wouldn't call this a high heat book, but I would say there are definitely some explicit steamy scenes in here, and they were beautifully done. They were very good. I loved Catherine St. Day. She is such an interesting character because she's very, like, closeted. She's very repressed. She was in the type of relationship, like, her husband was so prolific and so, like, he had done so many great things in the scientific community that he had, like, this, like, everyone respected him. Everyone thought he was this great guy, like, nobody really knows him, but, like, his scientific achievements placed him, like, where he was almost, like, without reproach, right? But when you see the way just a few brief flashbacks when Catherine was thinking about their marriage, you could see that he was abusive to her, and not in a way that is over the top. I feel like a lot of times when we think about abuse in a relationship, it really feels like it's a very obvious type of abuse. And this was a very, very quiet type, where he was constantly demeaning her, where he was not giving her any attention or any affection. You know, there's a scene in here where she's talking about when they first married, and she had this great hope that they were going to be so happy. And it was absolutely devastating to see the effect of him on her for her entire life, but especially even once he was gone. Like, that is a big part of how she is struggling with her feelings for Lucy. Not really with her feelings for Lucy, but feeling like she can trust that Lucy is going to love her like she does right now forever. And watching Lucy, who is a younger heroine, she has this freshness and this faith in relationships that I feel like Catherine was maybe a little bit jaded, and they suited each other so well. It was just absolutely beautiful. Like, I'm on the verge of tears. This is one of the most beautiful love stories, romances. It is a romance, happily ever after, that I've ever read in my entire life. I love this couple. I can see why this book is so highly regarded. I feel like if you're wanting something that is a little bit different, that is very introspective into the characters' personalities and those moments that they have when they want to love and they let themselves love and be in the moment. But then Catherine usually ends up pulling back and being a little bit afraid, and that's really what caused the final conflict in their relationship. But they work through it in a beautiful way, and it's just, I loved it. This book just felt so cozy to me, even though you're dealing with some heavy themes. It was just not necessarily super heavy, but, you know, like Catherine's failed marriage, like that's a kind of a dark topic, and it's sad. It's sad to see how that has affected her, but seeing her find happiness with Lucy was just beautiful, and the way that they secure their future together was fantastic. I also really loved seeing, like, the hired help in Catherine's house root for her happiness with Lucy. I loved that so much. I loved that. Oh, it was just so good. I'm kind of just giddy and in awe of this. This was a beautiful book. Thank you so much to the subscriber. I know I have your name written down. I can't think of it right now. Who suggested this for me to read this year? So book 1 out of 12 for the books that you all recommended to me was a 5-star read. I loved it. You were right. This was fantastic. I immediately want to read more from her. I added the audiobooks that were available to me to my playlist to read in the future because I adored this. It was beautiful. You know, I feel like recently I've been talking about how I want books that sort of hit a certain layer of thought, maybe not really thought-provoking content, but I want to see a little bit more introspection into the characters' minds, and especially how they're approaching relationships and what they're thinking about the potential of this relationship and how maybe they've got some things they're working through. I mean, that was this book perfectly. It was just beautiful. It was steamy. It was romantic. It was perfect. And I loved how Catherine loves her needlework so much, and she constantly refers to it as just a craft or just a thing that, you know, ladies do to fill the time, and Lucy is the one who's right there encouraging her and trying to help her realize this could be an art. You could be great at this, you know, like, don't talk bad about yourself for doing this, you know, don't act like it's nothing. That's your dead husband who made you think that. It was so beautiful. They're just such a perfect match because Catherine is the artistic one and Lucy is very much the scientist, and I loved it. It was fantastic. 5 stars. Just had a great time reading that. Oh, I'm so happy. I had a feeling I requested this. Avon sent me this book. I'm part of their influencer program. They sent me this book. They asked for if I wanted any backlist copies, and I immediately said, I want this one. So I was really happy when a subscriber mentioned it, because then I was like, okay, I'm going to be forced to put this on my TBR. There are just so many books that I want to read, and I am not the fastest reader on BookTube for sure, so I don't get to them as quickly as I would like, but I'm very glad that I prioritized this because I adored it. It was fantastic. This is going to be one of my favorites of the year, I'm pretty sure. I loved it. It is definitely a slower paced book, so keep that in mind. It's definitely not as slow as Mary Belloc, but it's not super fast paced. There's not a lot of cheeky banter, you know, but it's just a beautiful, beautiful, lush, romantic, slightly introspective book that I adored. So that was fantastic. So it is Thursday night, so I'm not going to have a ton of time to read tonight. I mean, I'm going to be working for a little while, so I can listen to my audiobook then. And then I'm going to be working all day tomorrow, too. So this is an 11-hour audiobook. This is the next one that I want to read. I for sure want to include this in this reading vlog because you all picked these books for me, so I want you to see me reading them. I hope to vlog each of the books that you recommended on my... I do have a TBR video, I'll link that below, for all the books I'm going to be reading this year that you recommended. So this was one of them. I think Justin recommended this book, so I'm very excited, very, very excited. It's a little bit longer. I don't know, we'll see. I don't really know much of what it's about, but I'm going to start it right now while I have an hour left of work before I start dinner, and then I will work and listen more tonight. So I'm excited. I'm just so happy that I loved that book. Oh my gosh. It's just a wonderful feeling, you know? It just makes me so happy. So, all right, friends, I'll see you tomorrow when I've got an update for you on Reckless.
The last breath of summer is blowing down our necks, and soon we'll wave goodbye to the fleeting bliss. Because you are like a tidal wave, ripping up my life, not living without a trace. And you know that I'm your silent patient. You know I'm your silent patient. I've been waiting to hold me up. I'll be holding on through the winter for your kiss to wake me up. Now with the colors of spring, my heart will blossom up again. The speeding up, and with your smile.
Hello, my friends. Okay, quick reading update. It's Friday. I have just a quick update. I'm only this far into Reckless, but I thought I would update you and at least let you know what I'm thinking about it so far. So I am very intrigued with this. Honestly, I think that this has the setup of a really good adventure story. It is super reminiscent of older historicals where, you know, like they definitely had a huge, well, some of them had a big emphasis on an adventure storyline, and that's exactly what's happening here. It is compulsively readable at this point. Like, I'm super intrigued with the premise. I'm really interested in the characters and the setup. But again, like, it's super early. I feel like usually authors will have, honestly, any type of author, they heavily edit the beginning. And it's usually, if something is going to fall apart, it's usually towards the end. So this is very promising. I'm very excited. So the premise of this book is that our heroine has had this very romantic idea of the Earl of Wild. His name is Gabriel. And she believes him because he has such an interest in, like, medieval texts and very, like, chivalrous, knight-like behavior. She believes that he's going to behave like that in real life. And so when she was 16, she really just had this idea that he was just this brave and valiant knight who was gonna, you know, help any damsel in distress and whatever. So 6 years later, she is at a point in her life when her lover, or a man that she was interested in, was going to marry her. I don't know if they were actually lovers, but he was killed by pirates. I know. And so she is going to make sure that he gets his revenge. So in order to do that, she sort of lures Gabriel out one night to go and find this medieval text. She asks for his help to go get that, and so they do that. They're accosted by highwaymen, and the text is stolen, and she starts to realize that this man who she has idolized as someone who is this gallant, brave, chivalrous man is anything but, as he completely lets the text just go. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. And then, I don't even know, in the way of an older historical romance, like, she has her face veiled and he's very intrigued with who she is and he really wants to see her unveiled, and so naturally he just kisses her in the way of, I mean, this was published in 1992, so it's not that old, but he basically just kisses her, for no reason. And in the beginning, like, it's from his point of view, and so we're reading how, like, she sort of trembles in fear that when he kisses her, and he has this idea that I need to see if I can get her to desire and to enjoy this kiss. Like, his masculine ego has been awakened in that she is afraid and doesn't desire him like he desires her. So that's where I'm at. It's a good time, for sure. It's a very good time. I am extremely curious to see where this story goes and what happens with this romance, and I'm into it, for sure. So this is an interesting one. I would love to have an Amanda Quick on for the Rake Appreciation Society. That would be super fun. Yeah, I'm gonna continue listening to this today and we'll see what happens. But I mean, we've got pirates, we've got a veiled lady, we've got a murder revenge plot, we have medieval texts. Like, I don't know. I don't know where this is going, and I'm completely here for it. So I also got some book mail. I actually have had this package for a while. I'm going to unbox for you, but I just opened this in my mailbox. Look at this beauty. This is Maggie Cole's newest book. This is in her new Mafia Wars series. This is Mafia Wars New York. I really love Maggie Cole's books. Honestly, I love them so much. I think she's fantastic. Her and Sophie Lark are two of my favorite Mafia authors, and I struggle at times with Mafia romances. I feel like sometimes the writing just doesn't vibe with me, so I'm very excited about that one. Now, I did get contacted by Bell Box. They asked if they could send me a package, so I don't think this is their new box. I think this is from maybe February. I am very excited. Let's see what we got so far. This is adorable. This looks like a bookmark. I've never gotten a Bell Box before. These, I think, are magnetic bookmarks, and they're called, look at that. You just put it over your page. That's cute. It's called a quitter strip. So we have a quitter strip, and we have read more, and then we just have a beautiful design. So those are super fun. Have to use those for sure. This is cute sticker. Says, if the book is open, I'm busy. I love stickers. All right, and let's see the books. Ooh, I'm so hyped for these. I saw the author through the packaging. Make sure that I'm not like leaving anything in there with the crinkles. Okay, let's move this over here. Let's open this puppy. I'm so excited. Okay. Okay, sprayed edges. I do believe that I've seen these, so you may have already seen these because this isn't for the new box, but I am super stoked to have these. This copy, The Revenge Pact by Ilsa Madden Mills. I've only read one Ilsa Madden Mills, but I really liked it, so this is very exciting. Look at those sprayed edges. Those are pretty. I've heard good things about this, and I believe I have the audio of this. I think so. Because I've been wanting to read this, and sometimes if the audio is on sale for cheap, I just grab it. And then my Audible library. Oh, I'm excited about this. And then my Audible library is so huge. I am very excited about this. This is one of my favorite authors. This is not one of my favorite books of hers. I did like this book though. And look, Indigo Ridge. That's stunning. I love Daphne Perry so much. She's one of my favorites. Look at those sprayed edges. Very indigo-y. Very ridgy. Those are beautiful. I'm so excited. Thank you so much, Bell Box, for sending me these. These are absolutely stunning. And these bookmarks are my new favorite thing, and the sticker. So that was super fun. Just a little bit of book mail there for you. I'm hyped about those. And now I'm going to go work and listen to Reckless and see how far I get, because I'm intrigued. I'm very intrigued. Hello, my friends. Welcome back. Welcome back to the final clip of this vlog. I finished the second book, and I have a lot of feelings. I have a lot of feelings. I have a lot of thoughts, and hopefully they come across coherently, because I finished Reckless. So I finished Reckless, and let me just tell you right now that this was a ride, okay? Like, let me tell you briefly my reading experience about this book. So I have read parts. I read about half of an Amanda Quick before, and that was just really, I was enjoying her writing style. I was really engaged with the plot. I liked the characters. I thought it was a little quirky, but I wasn't like, it was only like a year and a half ago that I read that. But I don't remember having the same reaction to that book, which I believe it was Dangerous, the ghost hunting one, as I did with this book. So let me tell you my experience reading this. So the first initial, from the part when I updated you last, that just beginning taste that I had, I was initially just like, okay, I'm impressed with the writing. The writing is solid. It's very engaging. The heroine is a little quirky. She's a little naive. She's a little, reckless. Like, the book is named Reckless basically because she literally just does not think about her actions and just acts on them. But she's extremely naive too, and so she often finds herself in these extremely dangerous, stupid situations. So initially I'm like, okay, I'm interested, The hero's interesting, the setup is interesting, he's a writer and she is secretly his editor. They don't find that out until literally like the very end. And, she wanted his help to secure this old medieval text so that she could get revenge on the people who killed what was the man who was going to be engaged to her. It's like this book has so much plot in it. It's literally nonstop plot. And it's plot in the way that is clever and correct, and that each thing that happens leads into what's going to happen next. So it's a true plot in here, and there's a ton of it. Like, so much is happening. But it all leads into this happened, so then this happened, so then this happened, so then this happened. And it's just kind of wild in that way. So I think something else that, like, I knew that going in. Like, everyone that I've heard of talk about Amanda Quicks almost always references how much plot is in there and how, like, adventurous they are, and that was 100% true. That was freaking true in this book. Like, this book was a ride. It was a wild ride. Okay, so then, up until about 50% of the way in, it was just like so much plot was happening, so much setup was happening. There were these moments that the hero and heroine had that were very much passion-based, lust-based, specifically the hero. Like, the hero sees her and he's enamored with the idea that she's this veiled woman, that air of mystery that is often played into in romances, especially older romances. That's a big draw for the hero to this woman, is that she's like mysterious, like she's not like other girls type of thing, And so once he finds out who she is and sees her face and sees that, she's beautiful, he just desires her so much. And not in just the way that he desires her just to have her once. Like, he desires her to have her forever, to be his and no one else's. But there's nothing about his desire for her that is entrenched in love. It's all lust, physical ownership type of thing, So that was kind of like when those moments would pop up. As maybe you can tell if you've watched my videos, I wasn't a fan of that. I really, really despise, I despise when that aspect of our hero is played up so much. I really hate when heroes, and this happens in modern day romances, it doesn't matter what time period it is, this is a common thing that happens in some romances that I hate so much, and it's when the hero is boiled down to being only broody, angsty, a bit taciturn and like grouchy, but oh boy, does he ever have a hard-on for the woman, and I just get so freaking tired of that. Like, I hate the idea of men being reduced to only one thing is on their mind forever. I just don't like that. I feel like, I don't know. Anyway, I'm ranting. That's not the point of this. So he had aspects of that where his entire draw towards her was physical based, but there was also a part of him that really like admired her. Like, he calls her clever, but I don't think she's clever at all. She's not really clever at all. And I'm being a little sassy, but I'm just trying to get my feelings out because like I said, the reading experience for this book was wild for me. About halfway through, they end up in a situation where they're forced to marry. Very common trope in historical romances. And dear sweet Phoebe, dear stupid sweet Phoebe, the heroine, is holding on to these ideas that she will only marry for love, that the man who she ends up with, her husband, it will be a love match. And so when she finds herself married to Gabriel, she is reflecting on all of their interactions. And this part kind of broke my heart because she is seeing how he is so drawn to her, how he desires her. And they have these, physical interludes. And all of those are building up this idea that he loves her in her head because his pursuit of her is like laser focused because he wants to sleep with her. Like, it is literally the only thing on his mind for so much of the book. And I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. I hated it. It's boring to me. And I also feel like it's offensive. And I don't like seeing our heroes reduced to being nothing but an animal with a penis. I just don't like it, okay? So, I wasn't into it. So they get married. Now, let me tell you about the wedding night. There will be spoilers for the wedding night here, so if you don't want to be spoiled, I haven't told you my star rating because it's complicated, okay? Okay, so their wedding night happens. Let me pull up my notes. Okay, I got my notes ready. So their wedding night happens. She locks the door on their wedding night. She goes into her room and locks the door because she's mad at him. She's big mad at him because she found out something about him that changed her opinion of him and really destroyed any hope that she had that he loved her. And it was heartbreaking. So, she locks the door. She locks him out. She's big mad. Little feisty Spitfire. So what does this man do? Because he's not just about to let his wife, who he has been lusting after for weeks, just be by herself on their wedding night, focus on me. So, what he does is he rappels down the outside of his castle. And he swoops into the window. And he's like, let me tell you, little girl, we're going to screw, and you're not going to say no to me because it's my manly rights, all right? So I know I'm being sassy about this, but honestly, like, I feel I have so many feelings about this book, and they're not all negative for sure. This part was, I hated this part. I really hated it. I didn't like it at all. And I do think that it's extremely interesting. So this book was published in 1992, 10 years after Sky O'Malley by Bertree Small, which is, that book is, I have another reading vlog for that. It's interesting if you want to know, because that book is bananas. So, Sky O'Malley is deeply, deeply entrenched in the bodice ripper genre. That is what it is, okay? This is definitely a historical romance, but it feels much more like an adventure novel with a romantic subplot. So, wedding night, pops into her bedroom, he's like, hey, are you ready? Okay, so they end up having sex, obviously. And it was painful to read. It really was, because, like, they had moments, foreplay moments before, where he, like, got her excited and did things for her, and it was just, like, great, she loved it, and she was, like, excited about the prospect of sex with him. So their wedding night happens, and it is literally, like, all about him. Like, he is just, like, does his thing, can't stop himself because he wants her so badly, and that's it, So it was very interesting reading that. It's very brief, because we're in Phoebe's head while it's happening, and all of her internal thoughts are all about, oh, he's getting pleasure. I'm so happy that I can be who's giving him pleasure. It hurts. I don't like it. I'm not having a good time, but it's giving him pleasure, so therefore it's good, you know? And oh boy, do I hate that, you know? Like, I know, like, I'm probably gonna get some bad comments because I'm being pretty harsh, but, like, I absolutely hate that. I hate that when that is used in our sex scenes, so that I just don't like it. It's yucky, you know, like I've said a lot how I don't love a lot of sex in my books. I just don't love a lot of meaningless sex. But I will say I hate sex scenes like this even more because I just hate the idea that the woman's role is purely to be a vessel for the man's pleasure, and that her pleasure is not even considered, not even a little bit. So, his joy, there is a little bit of, you know, you get a little bit of his point of view there, and his joy is only about his pleasure. And I just find that so interesting that Amanda Quick, Jane Ann Krentz decided to focus on that part, to highlight both of those. So we have Phoebe, she's focusing on his pleasure, and that's bringing her happiness in the moment. He is focusing on his pleasure, and that's giving him, you know, and so it just was like this, it just makes me so sad, and I just hate it because I despise seeing that the only joy that women get from sex. It just, that is not enough, and it's just yucky, and I hate it. So that is, I've talked a lot, you know, like, I don't like a lot of smut, I don't need that, I don't need it to be focused on that. That type of sex scene is 100 times worse for me. I hate it so bad, and I don't think it's written like that very often anymore, especially because romance novels are so often seen today to portray, like, sexual empowerment and joy for all parties in the relationship, you know? So, that happens. Now, this is where this scene gets extremely sad for me, because she is so focused on his joy. She is so in tune with his emotions and his feelings that she is perceiving that, his pleasure, as he loves her now, right? And it just makes me so sad. It makes me so sad. And I think about all of the millions of women where in real life where that has likely happened to them in a relationship, and it just breaks my heart. And that is why I despise lust-based romances. I wrote my notes. I put that down. And I put a little broken heart because it was awful. So then, now, after they've had sex, the first time, their wedding night, he makes it extremely clear to her, look, I don't love you. This is what he says. Secretly, it's implied that he actually does love her, but he is a big, gruff man who has a hard time admitting he has feelings, and so he's just like, no, I don't love you. I cannot love you. This is just physical attraction, you know. So there are clues and keys there to the reader that, oh, he definitely has feelings for her. So that is true. But when you see Phoebe's reaction to that, like, she just sort of gets so cold and so sad. And that moment is another plot point that is the catalyst for what she does next. So it's very interesting to me. Now, I will say, at that point, I was so furious with this book. Like, I wrote all these notes. I was listening to this audiobook. I wasn't able to film a clip. If I had been able to, I would have just ranted about that. And I feel like I've ranted quite a lot about that already. But it gets better. It does get better. Now, the second half of the book is very, very much slowly seeing Gabriel admit and realize that he loves her. Now, his outward actions portray that with his immense desire to protect her, because someone is out to kill her. And a lot of plots are happening to get that done. They're trying to get the book back that she, you know, sold and everything like that. So there are a lot of plots where they are trying to kill her. So, now, I will say it definitely gets better, okay? Like, it gets better. It's not all bad like I made it sound. It gets better. And by the end of this book, okay, I really liked him as a hero. I did. I enjoyed him. I enjoyed his character development. He has a lot of character development in this book. His motives for everything that he does are always driven by his love and desire for, not desire, that's not the right word, by his love that he doesn't want to admit for Phoebe. So that that was pretty interesting to me. I liked that a lot. I loved his character development. Phoebe is definitely not my favorite character. She's not my favorite heroine that I've ever read. I feel like she's a little bit quirky, a little bit not like other girls type of heroine, you know, so I didn't love her. So, I will say the ending was good. The plot in this book was solid, engaging. I was invested. I wanted to know what happened. And I know I ranted a lot about something that I really didn't like, but I do think that that changed. So there was a moment after their first wedding night when she makes a comment to him about how, look, you led me to believe that I was going to enjoy sex too by what we did before. And then we had our wedding night and it was awful and you were awful. And his masculine pride is so wounded that he then makes it his effort to prove to her that it can be good for her too. So I did enjoy that. However, again, Amanda Quick leans into this whole thing about this man, this hero. Everything that he does is really to reinforce his pride and his ego. I mean, he says that it's for Phoebe, that it's for her good, but really it's to stoke and feed his ego and prove to himself that he's a man, that he's a good lover, you know, that he's a good husband, that he can take care of her, that he can protect her. So it's interesting that I feel like he had such a big character development and a character arc towards the end, because for a large portion of the book, he was a stereotypical bodice ripper type of hero where he was purely driven by one thing and one thing only. He was extremely controlling. He was condescending to her. But again, like, that character development towards the end was really, really good. So yeah, I think that, like, I dog-eared so many of these pages because, like, I want to talk about this, I want to talk about this, and I want to talk about this. And then I spent all of this time talking about that one scene and how much I didn't like it. So in conclusion, my final rating for this book is 4 stars. Because it, I mean, like, I'm struggling. Is it a 3.5, 4? Do I recommend it? I do recommend it. Like, I liked it. I was enjoying this read. Like, I read it in a day, you know, or 2 days. I read it in 2 days. It's Saturday night. I enjoyed reading this book. It had things that I didn't like. It had stereotypes that I don't like, that are tired, that are, I don't understand why that type of hero was so appealing. I don't understand that. I just don't. And it's interesting to me how she wrote him to be so controlling. Like, there was nothing really about him that was like, I love you, I want to take, you know. I mean, there was, but largely for most of the book, it was all about possessing her and controlling her. And that is, that leaves a little bit of an ick in my mouth, you know what I mean? But the second half was really great in showing his change of thought and mind and connecting the idea, or letting himself feel the idea that it could be true that he loved her. Like, I liked that a lot. So I also liked the side characters, like Phoebe's family were fantastic. I felt like, you know, the plot was definitely compelling. I think that also this had pretty great witty banter too. Like, it was very clever in here. It was good. I just personally the hero, man, the hero. And maybe that was deliberate. You know, I think that probably was deliberate for her to create that type of a hero so he would have a good character arc in the end, but I did not like it. So anyway, yeah, 4 stars. I did enjoy it. I definitely want to read Ravished, which I think most people really, really love. I think that's the one with the fossils. I want to read that one for sure. I am definitely interested in reading more of her books. I would love to, I think I mentioned it before, have one of her books for the Rake Appreciation Society because it was a fun ride. It was compelling writing. It's not the best romance I've ever read, but there were definitely moments in the end where I was swooning for this couple, you know? But I think that this is more of an adventure story with romance than it is a straight romance novel. And, like, it's interesting because this book in the back has a little, you know, it has like a little about the author. And it says that there are, at this point in 92, 17 million copies of her books in print. That is a lot. She feels that the romance novel is a vital and compelling element in the world of women's fiction. She adds that something about historical romance in particular defines the very word romance. And I love that. I think that's fantastic. Also, I wanted to say before I end this clip, which I know is being very, very long, this is a used book. I think that Sam got this book for me when she went to a bookstore when she went back to Kentucky from Sam Reads a Little. And I opened this book and it has this beautiful, I'm not going to show you because it has her address on here, but it has a sticker of the woman who owned this at some point. Bernice owned this with a really lovely flower monogram on there. Like, and when I look at like the spine, like it's creased so much, and I just can't help but think that, you know, like it really touched me that this was someone's book. This was a woman's book in the 90s or 2000s, and she read this multiple times, and she found a lot of joy and comfort in here. And I feel like that, even though I was pretty ranty, I feel like that really helped me to try and see the great things in here and what would have compelled someone to read this. And I absolutely see its draw and appeal. And I think that, you know, Gabriel's character arc was so great at the end. And I feel like that's the real draw and appeal here, to have some really like dour hero. This is the epitome of a grumpy sunshine who is eventually just head over heels obsessed with the heroine, in love with the heroine, not obsessed, like completely in love with her. That taming of the beast element is so profound here, and yeah, it was fun. I really enjoyed this. I mean, it kept me on my toes. It gave me a lot to talk about. It gave me a lot to think about. So I'm sorry. This clip is so long, but 4 stars for this one. Thank you so much to the subscriber who recommended it. I'm very, very glad that I read this. I believe it was Justin who recommended this. So thank you, Justin. Appreciated that. And then, of course, my 2 beauties, 5 stars for this one. So this was a great reading vlog. I had a ton of fun, and yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching it. I can't wait to read more of your recommendations that I have on that video. Thank you so much for watching, my friends. I hope you enjoyed this. If you want to leave me an emoji and let me know you were here, feel free to leave me any type of bird for spring, because the birds are chirping all the time. And I'll see y'all in my next video.